Davido posted a message about the recent attacks in Nigeria and security in Nigeria that I think is really well written, and it really shows the difference from someone that is of the nation that understands the sensitivity of the issue versus what we've seen with someone like Nicki Minaj, who I have come out and told you guys does not really truly understand the issue, even if she does mean well in terms of Christians, but she's being used as a propaganda to sort of paint the issue in Nigeria as almost it's a Islamic nation hell bent on terrorizing Christians, right? Let's go through this message. Let's talk about the recent attacks in Nigeria and how this all comes together so you guys can get a better understanding of why we're saying what we're saying when Nicki Minaj and the Trump administration do the things that they're doing versus what's really going on and how Nigeria really can be helped, right? So there are two attacks here I want you to be mindful of. One of them is an attack on a church. The other involves kidnapping of schoolgirls. All right. So just walk with me. OK, so Davido says, my heart goes out to the young girls kidnapped in Kebbi State and to their families. No family deserves this pain. As Nigerians, we must stand together in unity. That's key word, and continue working towards a country where every child can grow up in safety and hope. I am also deeply saddened by the tragic attack on a church in Kwara State. I pray for the families who lost loved ones and for everyone's affected by this heartbreaking incident. These acts of violence must never become our norm. Everything must be done to bring the Kebbi girls home safely. I urge anyone with credible information to come forward in whatever safe and responsible way they can, so it can support ongoing efforts to rescue them. May God watch over the girls until they return. May He comfort the grieving families in Kwara, bring peace to our nation, and put every sponsor of violence and disorder to shame. And that's Davido. I'm going to come back to this message. I want to show y'all something real quick. Now, I want to show you guys an excerpt from a news article that I think really truly summarizes the message we've been trying to get to you guys, right? Rather than when you just get that simple message of Christians under attack in Nigeria and this sort of propaganda and the leverage really that Trump administration is trying to use on Nigeria, right? So right here, we see that there was, gunfire erupting during a church service, right? A video posted by a local news outlet and verified by Reuters show the Christ Apostolic Church service being interrupted by gunfire, forcing parishioners to take over, right? And then we see the governor of Kwara asking for the immediate deployment of more security operatives following the church attacks, right? Then right after that, they also follow up and let you know that authorities have not yet located the girls abducted by armed men who stormed a predominantly Muslim government girls' secondary school in northwestern Kebbi State. So those are referencing the two things that the video was talking about. What's the point I'm trying to land here for you guys, right? Even if you're not someone that's living day to day in Nigeria, if you just do a little bit of research, you get to see how complex Nigeria can be in terms of tribalism, multiple tribes, and then you get to see how complex Nigeria can be in terms of religion. Nigeria, it's almost darn near even split in religion. But however, there's certain areas where a lot of Muslim people live in, and there's certain areas where a lot of Christian people live in. You get the point. But the key thing here is Islamic extremists, okay, are the problem. We both acknowledge that. What people are missing is that now, when we get into the conspiracy theories, who's sponsoring these people, international folks, people domestically, right? That I wouldn't be shocked if our own CIA has something to do with some of this stuff. But the idea is these Islamic extremists, a lot of people have to understand they aren't discriminating when it comes to their agenda. Obviously, you're going to get, attacks on churches. Then you're going to get attacks on Muslim people as well. They're not on the extreme side that they don't think, adhering to Sharia law. How dare you try to, put girls in school, of the Islamic. That's what you're going to see. Then you've got another factor where you've got, herdsmen, and this is speaking towards the north. I knew this stuff as a kid before I even came to America, and this is something that our government should be ashamed of, that people can use this as a bargaining chip. But then you got, the herdsmen and the Christian farmers battling out, and that's more of a resource and scarcity issue. So I really want you guys to understand, because I've made multiple videos where it's when I say what I'm saying, it's like, oh, you're just attacking Nicki Minaj. I think if the Trump administration was really serious about getting an advocate and was really serious about dealing with this issue. They don't care about Christians here that look like me and you. Why do you think they care about Christians in Nigeria? If they're really serious, Davido is a better advocate. I want to go back to that message of someone that understands what's going on in Nigeria. And I understand it's not this, rogue Islamic state that needs to be invaded. What it is we got corrupt politicians. What it is we got people with tribal mindset. What it is we got and that's why we come to Davido's words here, and we, speaks of unity. Right, we see that there. He uses that word, peace to our nation, and he talks about sponsored violence. What it is also foreign interest, billionaire Nigerian interest. These are the things that someone like Davido, can pick up on because he's in and out of Nigeria. I can pick it up because I'm off Nigeria, but I can also pick up on because I understand geopolitics. I actually studied politics, right, from an American lens, and I also will look at it from a Nigerian lens, the African lens, when I'm in school, because that's where I'm from. So no one's just attacking Nicki Minaj, and no one is just saying that the Trump administration isn't, using this, isn't close to what's going on, right? And I wouldn't even say they're close, but what we're trying to tell you is people are acting in a very transactional way, and they're acting in their own self-interest. Okay, there are a lot of things immigration-wise. The United States try to dump a bunch of migrants in Nigeria that weren't of Nigeria. Nigeria won't accept it. There's the resources conversation. And then you've got Nicki Minaj, who, I'll be honest with you, like I've said, I keep hammering on. It's someone that has not been very Christian-like in her rants and attacking people. And then all of a sudden now, right, you're being used as a mascot for this issue. And by just keep regurgitating this, it's failing Christians, you create more division, and you add more bad PR to the country that it doesn't need. What it does have is a security issue. What it does have is corruption issues. Because quite frankly, if you know Nigeria, especially in certain regions, Christian or Muslim, you ain't safe. If you ain't safe from extremists, you ain't safe because of lack of resources and scarcity. Okay, I'm trying my best here, but I don't want to talk to the stands anymore. I think most reasonable people kind of can tell something is up, but it's up to people like Davido, any other, the Burna Boy talking about some nonsense. This is the stuff he should be getting into, right? To get the message out properly. No one is saying there isn't violence. No one is saying that this government doesn't need to be better, but the mischaracterization of the issue is absolutely something that we cannot afford. Okay?